The staff of Sandhills Broadcasting, WFJA and WWGP welcomes you to Day 4 of our local candidate interviews. Today's interviews will air live on WFJA and WWGP, with the interviews also streaming live on the Facebook pages of WFJA and The Rant. Today we feature the 3 Republican candidates for Lee County Commissioner, and today's candidate interviews are with Paula Mbuangi, Sandra Jones, and Bill Carver. We now take you to our studio and interviewer Matt Garrett.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Day 4 of our local candidate interviews, brought to you live by Sandhills Broadcasting, WFJA and WWGP, The Rant, with video provided by Brick Capital Video. And we're here in the studio at WFJA. I'm Matt Garrett, hiding underneath my coronavirus mask, but glad to be here, and I will be your host for these interviews today. Before we start with our first interview, I'd like to remind you that you can listen into these interviews today on WFJA 105.5 FM, WWGP 1050 AM, and 95.1 FM. These interviews are also video streaming live right now on the WFJA Facebook page, as well as the Facebook page for The Rant. Today we'll be talking with the 3 Republican candidates for the Lee County Commissioner. Our 3 candidates today are Paula Mbuangi, Sandra Jones, and Bill Carver. And we're going to start today's session with Paula Mbuangi. So, Paula, I welcome you to the WFJA studio and to this candidate interview forum, and just glad to get to know you a little bit and for us to have this time together, and also to give a chance for the listeners to get to know more about you and your campaign.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Great. I am sure that there are listeners out there who are like me, have never met you before, and I've already found out you're a delightful person. So why don't we begin today by letting you take a few minutes to just tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, your background, why you decided to run for office, some information like that.
Sure, absolutely. And I want to thank everyone for and for the radio station for having me today. And I would like to start by saying that I am a conservative Christian wife, mother, and glam mother, and I believe in the power of prayer. I have posted the ultimate prayer on my Facebook page. That's at CTE Paula Fine. And I did read this particular prayer to my dad prior to him passing away last year. I'm happily married, and along with my husband and myself, we have 3 children each. So that means we actually have 3 boys and 3 girls. And one of them is actually in the Lee County school district. And I am a glam mother of 3. My latest grandchild was born in August of 2020, so he's pretty new. And I lived in North Carolina for about 15 years. 3 of those years have been here in Lee County in Sanford. I have earned a bachelor's degree in business. I also have an associate's degree in medical lab technology. And I have been working as a information technology tech for the last 14 and a half years. My journey as a candidate started this summer. And when I was watching a citizen journalist on TV, I actually saw a woman who looked uncannily like my mom. Okay, and she was on the TV, she was crying, and she was very heartbroken because her business was looted and burned, I believe. And I was very moved when I saw her. I was very upset, obviously. So I picked up my phone. I called the local headquarters for the GOP here in Sanford, and all I wanted to do was just volunteer, even if it was just making phone calls or sweeping the floor. I was just ready to take some type of action. And so I was invited for some refreshments on a Friday evening. And when I got there, everybody was so welcoming. It was so uncanny how welcoming everybody was. And I had a great time. And within a few weeks of me getting down there, I was unanimously voted as the vice chair of the GOP in Sanford. So I was very excited about that, and it didn't take long. Within a few weeks after that, an opportunity had opened up about the county commissioner candidacy. So I talked to my family, I talked to my husband, I did a lot of praying, and my family was very, very happy for me, and they just said, yeah, go for it, go for it. So I end up within a few days of my name being on the ballot, becoming a candidate for county commissioner. And I truly believe that I have a desire to do what I can for the county. I have a desire to and compassion to work with the leadership in the county and to forward the growth in the county. I'm a resident. I believe that I have a real stake in this community, and I just want to do everything that I can do to help the residents here.
Wow. Well, let me say that I'm glad you're in Sanford, and glad that you got involved so quickly in local leadership and local community action. And we certainly need people like you who want to contribute what they can to our community. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was noticing that I was reading some on your Facebook and so forth. By the way, I read that ultimate prayer, I think you called it.
Yes.
It's kind of long. It's an incredibly good prayer.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Wow. And I was noticing that you had, been added to the ballot kind of, not until August. And was wondering, was that at all a problem for you as far as kind of coming to this race later than a lot of the other candidates, or has that not been a problem?
It initially was a challenge. Like I said, I'm still actually working a full-time job, and I would try to run my candidacy in the evening. I still volunteer at the GOP. I've gone out and I've talked to a lot of folks. I've worked with the other leaders in the GOP. I've gotten a chance to talk to leaders in the chambers and Saga and things like that. So coming in less than 100 days before an election has been quite a challenge. I feel that I've been up for it. This race right now is in the hands of God. I can't do any more or any less to convince the people of Lee County to vote for me and to see me as a commissioner that would be able to give them a voice. I believe that I can do that, but at the end of the day, it's not on me right now. It's on the Lord.
Well, I think I already see the answer to my next question. So I'm going to still ask you this question, but
Sure.
I think I'm tossing you an easy pitch here.
Okay.
I went to I guess it was probably the Lee County Republican Party Facebook page,
Yes.
and I saw a video there that featured very quickly all three of our Republican candidates for county commission.
Yes.
And by each of you, had your picture, your name, and then one word. The one word by your name was the word faith. Is that important to you? Do you think that affects your how you will respond and act and lead as a commissioner?
I believe it will. And the reason why I believe that is because my faith allows me to look past the surface. When you're looking at people, you see all of this unrest, all of this hatred. I actually look past that. I look at the actual person. What makes them tick? What makes their minds the way that they are? Are they suffering from any ailments? Just giving someone a smile, a look in the eye, not with COVID right now, but a hug, you will be surprised how different people will respond to you, regardless of party. I think that I am able to give compassion and to allow people to be themselves. No pretenses, just be yourself. So, with my faith, it allows me to do that. I am able to hate the unlovable. I'm able to love the hated and the unlovable. And that's what my faith has been able to do for me.
One of the big issues that comes up with every election in Lee County that especially faces the county commission is the issue of whether or not to use tax incentives
Right.
to attract new businesses, industries, employers to our county. Some people are extremely opposed. Some think it's really wonderful. I'm wondering your position on the use of tax incentives.
Well, I will say that in the 1980s, my father was actually a business owner. Okay. He had a game room, and during the summer, I actually got a chance to help him passing out flyers and things like that. So I know as a child what it's like to have a parent who not only is running a business, but he was also a manager at a car wash. So I'm very pro-business. I want to be sure that our small businesses receive the support that they need. And I also want to work together with the other commissioners to encourage growth. I want them to have the best that the citizens in Lee County can possibly offer. And I got an opportunity to talk to Mr. Randolph, I believe his name is, from Saga. And when he explained what the incentives were and how they are used, they don't need to be used in every instance, but I have confidence, along with Bill and Sandra, that the incentives will be used in a proper and appropriate manner. It won't just be throwing money somewhere. It will be audited, and they will make sure that they pay really close attention to clawbacks and have the businesses honor the contracts that they work with them with.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. Another issue that I want to be sure to ask you about, because our voters are all going to have to be deciding, when your name is on the ballot, somewhere on that same ballot is going to be the question about this new sports complex.
Yes.
A bond referendum to
Yes.
bring a sports complex, which would be soccer and baseball and softball, etc., to Sanford, Lee County. A bond referendum means that our taxes will go up some to help pay for that. I want to know your opinion on whether or not the county should have that. Is it worth increasing taxes for it? Where do you stand?
Well, I will look at this like this. It's not for one commissioner to decide. This is on the ballot this year. The voters will actually decide whether this is going to pass or not. But as a voter myself, I would actually like to ask a couple of questions regarding the bond. Like, would the county benefit from maybe private, public funding? Or whether we could financially be able to sustain this type of bond in the event of maybe another catastrophe or a natural disaster like we had in April 2011. And most of all, I would like to see if the complex is going to be accessible to all Lee County residents. I would just really ask questions versus saying I'm against it or for it. I think that an informed citizenry will be much better informed on whether they think that they want to pay for this bond or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that answer. I'd like to talk to you some about an issue that's constantly on the news these days. It has to do with the whole issue of racial injustice.
Yes.
white supremacy, Black Lives Matter, racial inequality, this whole issue. You've been now, I think you said, in Lee County for about 3 years.
Yes.
Do you think that we have any problem in Lee County of racial injustice, inequity? Why or why not? Do you think the county commission should do anything to address this?
Another issue that I saw when I was watching a citizen journalist was all of the problems that people have been bringing up with race and how people perceive it. I cannot speak for the county as a whole or the nation as a whole. I can say for myself that I'm a woman, I'm a Christian, I'm Black, and I have been able to get my degree. No one was ever stood in my way to stop me from getting it. I'm in a field where it's predominantly male dominated. I'm also a homeowner. No one stopped me from moving into a particular neighborhood. So I'm going to say at this point, it's perception so much as what people think or what they perceive. Each person is different. I would hope that we could look at people's character, look at how they are as a human being versus their skin color, because I'm sure my mom and dad had no choice in what I would look like because of what they look like. So I try not to use race as a factor because you can't control who you were born as.
I can't believe how our time is getting away. Would you believe we only have about 3 or 4 minutes left?
That's crazy.
I know. I feel like we just got started. Well, I want to give you a chance. Maybe there is some issue that you wanted to be sure to comment on or something that you wanted to be sure to address.
Yes.
I want to give you an opportunity to do that for a minute or two.
Well, one of the issues that I have is kind of like a 3-tiered issue. One, I want to say thank you to Sheriff Estes and Sheriff Carter. All of their hard work in the community and them working with children and mentoring them and to keep them from having to be incarcerated in the near future. I would also like to address, as a county commissioner, the homeless problems that we have here. I've got a chance to talk to homeless people. The same thing with crime, mental health. I think that as a county commissioner, I would like to kind of like delve into that a little better, because if we are able to conquer the underlying issues of Sanford, I believe that we could make Sanford a much better place. A business is only going to come in and actually work with communities if they are profitable. If they're profitable and the people are willing to work instead of having to deal with crime, homelessness, and mental illness, I think Lee County is going to be a phenomenal place, all more than it is now.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I gave you an opportunity to mention those things. Certainly the issue of homelessness, our county's been doing a lot to try to address that.
Yes.
And I'm glad that that is a concern of yours, and I'm sure that you can bring a lot to the discussion on that. I want to ask you one other question that I won't be able to ask any other candidate, I don't think. I believe you are the only person this time running for county commissioner who is a person of color.
Yes.
And I guess most of our listeners have the opinion that an African American tends to vote Democratic. And yet you are here running as a Republican.
Yes.
Can you comment on that a little bit? Why the Republican Party?
If we're completely honest, you look at the way you were raised and you look at the way that you perceive yourself. And I feel that my values, what I find important to me, more aligns with the Republican Party. I love my family. I love my spouse. I have a more Christian, Judeo Christian value, honoring the husband, children obeying, things like that. So if I look at the biblical sense of it, it's more conservative, and nothing to say anything against Democrats, because I was a Democrat up until 2011, but I understood my values at that time, and I said this would better work for me versus just voting because everyone else said so.
We've only got about 30 seconds. Real quickly, would you like to say anything about, you mentioned you have a child here in the school system.
Yes.
The
Well, it's
county,
my husband's child.
okay. The county commissioners are the supporters for the public schools. They've been hit with a lot of extra expense right now because of the pandemic. Do you
Yes.
have any thoughts about, as a commissioner, how you would be involved in that?
I will continue to support our school system, our teachers, and as a commissioner, I would personally like to see all the commissioners, the school board, the superintendents have more collaboration together, that they meet more often, and because the commissioners actually control the purse, that we could find ways to support the teachers, support the students, get the information out there that we need, and to just continue to make our schools better and better, including our colleges and other different facilities that we have here in Lee County.
Thank you for that answer. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time.
Oh,
I'd like to join the Sandhills Broadcasting and the Rant in thanking Paula Fine Mbuangi for her time today. And we're now going to take a short 2-minute break. And when we return, we will be talking with Commissioner candidate Sandra Jones. So stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.